Are we ready to go? Okay then, hello everyone. Welcome to the fifth panel of the live Conscious Revolution platform, which was launched by Exit Festival in June on its 20th birthday. The aim of the platform is to bring together some of the leading global speakers, artists, scientists, entrepreneurs and activists with the aim of discussing possible directions and individual and collective development in humanity. So Exit has always been involved in social campaigns, which is one of the reasons I love working with them so much. And today we're going to draw your attention to the importance of dealing with the hunger crisis and its link to environmental protection. So today's panelists will discuss how the creative sector can contribute to raising awareness and helping humanitarian and environmental causes. And with this panel, we also mark the beginning of Exit Festival's Livestream Project, which will take place between the 3rd and 6th of September at the Petrovaradin Fortress in cooperation with the United Nations World Food Programme. So the Livestream Project was launched last year together with the Green Revolution Project, and it represents Exit Festival's largest environmental endeavour so far. And in cooperation with the World Food Programme, the largest humanitarian organisation, Exit will expand its scope. And in addition to environmental protection, it will highlight the problem of ending extreme hunger for millions of people around the world. So given that the pandemic and quarantine measures will bring as many as 270 million people in a state of extreme hunger before the end of 2020, which is an increase in 80%, which is quite shocking. The consequence will be most severe for those who are already vulnerable. So basically, Livestream brings together an impressive list of global and regional artists whose exclusive performances will draw attention of a global audience in order to galvanise the efforts towards COVID-19's response to alleviate the suffering of millions who have already lost their livelihoods to the pandemic and are falling deeper into hunger. So basically today, we're joined by some amazing speakers. We have David Beasley, the Executive Director of the World Food Programme. Hi, David. And we have Dusan, the founder of the Exit Festival, who many of you will already know. They also have other events, including Sea Dance Festival, Revolution Festival, and No Sleep. So just to give you all a brief introduction of our speakers today before we get started, I'll start with David. So David is the director of the World Food Programme. And he continues his life's work, bridging political, religious and ethnic boundaries to champion economic development and education. At the World Food Programme, he is putting his use of 4 decades of leadership and communication skills to mobilise the financial support and public awareness for the global fight against hunger. The fight is now ever more critical, with hunger rising because of persistent conflict and the impact of climate change. And 2020, the agency aims to reach around I can't get this number right. 138 million people. So sorry about that. Okay, so David joined the World Food Programme in 2017. And before that, he spent a decade working with high-profile leaders and on-the-ground programme managers in more than 100 countries, which is pretty impressive. So he directed projects designed to foster peace, reconciliation, and economic progress. He's also travelled to as many as 30 countries a year. And he was just telling me previously how he's just been to Lebanon, US, and he's currently in Ethiopia. And he's been organising and leading conferences and missions in Kosovo, Sudan, Tunisia, and Yemen. So basically his work has allowed him to develop deep relationships with leaders around the world, which is a huge asset to his role in the World Food Programme today. So we're really honoured to have him today. So I'll just do a brief introduction of Dusan, who many of you already know, and then we'll get to the questions speaking to our amazing guests. So Dusan, Dusan Kovacevic is the founder of Exit Festival, and he is one of the best-known festivals in the world. It's been awarded on several occasions, Best European Festival Award in 2007, 2013, and 2017. And it's been featured in some of the most influential media all around the world, such as CNN, the BBC, The Guardian, New York Times, Forbes, Lonely Planet, Huffington Post, and many, many more. Exit has thus far attracted thousands of tourists to Novi Sad, bringing more than 200 million euros in profit to the local economy, and it expects to at least double those numbers in the next decade. And along with the contribution of Serbian tourism, Exit has significantly contributed to Serbia and the Balkans' image promotion all around the globe. In 2005, Dusan became the youngest person to ever receive the February Award, which was given by the city of Novi Sad in recognition of individuals who have contributed positively to the city. Now, not all of you will know, as well as working on the festival, Dusan is also the initiator of numerous social activism and humanitarian projects, which have led to a shift in attitudes and decision-making and general public, instigating positive and social changes in Serbia and the region. And Dusan continues to be active in this area, pushing forward social campaigns that really make a difference. So I'm looking forward to speaking to both of you about how the collaboration between kind of the music and creative sector and charities can really make a difference. As for me, I'm Nikki McNeill. I'm going to be your host for today. I run a company called Global Publicity, which specialises in promoting music events and festivals around the world, and I've worked in the music industry for around 20 years, showing my age there. So let's move on to some of these questions. I think we're going to get a really amazing discussion here from our guest today. So let's start with you, David. The World Food Programme mission. Please tell us a bit more about that and the problems that the World Food Programme are currently dealing with, to which the Livestream Project is dedicated to raising money for.
Well, Nikki, thank you. This is great. Now, I do want to have to say this right up front, because no doubt the backdrop that Dusan's got is so much better than mine or yours. But I just came out of the field, so to speak, in Ethiopia, and I had to grab a hallway and put this together real quick. And so I've got my iPad actually sitting on 6 coffee cups so I can do this.
My excuse is that we have the festival running at the moment, so we are full of live stream. So I'm just using that opportunity. This is not normal.
Dusan, it looks great, but Nikki, thank you, and Dusan, thank you, Exit, for what you're doing, what you're standing for, because the World Food Program. Not many people know much about the World Food Program, but we're actually the world's largest humanitarian program. We assist, feed, help over about 100 million people per day all over the world. And this is what's the good news. We're able to really reach a lot of people. The bad news is the hunger rate is now going back up again. And it's heartbreaking, because when you think about how much progress has been made in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years in technology and wealth, there's enough wealth in the world and experience today. There shouldn't be a single child, a single person anywhere on earth going to bed hungry. And so for 200 years, we've reduced the hunger rate. Now listen to this. 200 years ago, there was 1.1 billion people, 85% severe poverty, extreme poverty. Today, with 7.7 billion people, less than 10% severe poverty. So we have built systems, improved systems to share more wealth and help more people. But in the last 4 years, our extreme hunger rate that you were talking about, Nikki, has gone from 80 million 4 years ago. I'm not talking about people that go to bed hungry. I'm talking about people that are literally on the brink of starvation. They don't know where their next meal is. That number has gone from 80 million to 145 million in just 4 years. That was before COVID. Because of COVID, we're now projecting by the end of this year, 2020, that the number of people on the brink of starvation will go from 145 million to 270 million people. And that is inexcusable. It's unconscionable. But let me tell you what's been driving the numbers from the 80 million up to the 145 million. It's man-made conflict. Man-made conflict. If we can end the wars, we can end hunger. Now, you compound that with climate extremes, climate shocks, flooding, cyclones, hurricanes, and all of the droughts that we're facing around the world. Because a lot of my people say, well, I'm not so sure about what's causing the climate to change. I'm like, look, you can debate all day long what's causing the climate to change, but I can tell you we're out there in 80-something countries, and the climate is changing. More droughts, more floods. You may have a country that has the same amount of rainfall that year, but they got more droughts in the spring and more floods in the fall. And it just destroys harvest, planting, and so people are suffering out there. And we've got solutions, and we need monies to get out there and get it done. And that's one of the things I love about the World Food Program. They're the most committed people I've ever seen in my life. They put their lives on the line every day. You know, I've been out there. I mean, we're out there with COVID when a lot of people are running and hiding. We can't. We have to go out there and continue to help people. So COVID has just been an absolute compounding dynamic negative impact upon the world because of supply chain, economic deterioration. And so we're working with world leaders to be careful how you shut down economies and do lockdowns in communities because, you know, if you had a lockdown in New York or Washington, D.C. or Paris or Belgrade, most of the people have a pantry full of food that they can get them by for days, if not a week or two, or they can walk down the local store. But most of the people we deal with, they live from hand to mouth every day. They don't have a pantry full of food because they're living day to day. And you lock them down and they lose their job and they can't feed their family. You're going to have one of three things happen. You're going to have starvation, you're going to have political destabilization, or three, you're going to have mass migration. And frankly, people don't want to leave home. But if they don't have food and they don't have security, they go do what anybody would do to protect their children. So it is a very serious issue. And so the World Food Program, we're all hands on deck. And not many people realize this, but we don't deliver just food. We also deliver cash. We do billions of dollars of cash-based transfers when there's enough food in a local national economy, and we try to help stimulate the local economy. Instead of giving food, give cash so they can go buy food. But what we also do, like in the COVID, we're the logistics humanitarian backbone for the COVID response because the airline industry was all but shut down. You know, planes were no longer flying. That's cargo and passengers. And so somebody's got to get the COVID supplies out there, the masks, the ventilators, the gowns, the equipment, the humanitarian workers, the doctors, the nurses, et cetera. And so it was WFP that is called upon to provide the logistics for WHO, UNICEF, and all the agencies, the NGOs all around the world. So we've already transported over to 162 nations of COVID supplies, literally hundreds upon hundreds of flights of 747s, big aircraft, thousands upon thousands of passengers all over the world. And we need money to do that because this is helping everybody in the world. So we're all hands on deck right now. I had been saying a few months ago before COVID hit that we were going to face in the year 2020 the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II. Before COVID hit, and many of the leaders were like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "No, let me go through what we're facing, wars in Yemen and Syria, and the Lebanese economic collapse, and now the explosion of the Beirut port," which I was there just a few days ago. And then you got the Sahel deterioration. I'm here in Ethiopia with issues there, trying to move in the right direction. Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, let me keep going. And then we had the desert locust, and then we had COVID on top of all of that. So it's all hands on deck right now. We're there, but we believe that we can really make a positive impact, particularly if the young people step up and walk alongside us. So let me turn it over to Nikki. That's long enough, and throw it over to Dusan.
That's amazing, David. It sounds such a complicated issue with so many things intertwining that you're dealing with, and also in so many countries. I mean, just before we were speaking and we kind of switched the on button for the panel, you were telling us the countries you've just been to. So what is actually your role then? So how comes you're traveling to so many places, you know, all the time?
Well, there's so much war, conflict, and destabilization and problems. So, you know, when you go to these countries, it gives them hope when you can inspire them, encourage them, and they know that they've got leaders around the world really trying to help. So I was just in, you know, Ecuador, Panama, as well as Colombia, Lebanon, which was just devastating, the port explosion there, because obviously it's not just about humanitarian aid to those that needed it before the explosion, but then you've got to make certain, for example, like in Yemen, there's 29 million people in Yemen. We feed 13 million people. Well, we've got to move the supplies there, but what about the other 15 million people? So we help about 1 million people in Lebanon, but what about the other 3.5, 4 million people? So we've got to make certain that the port's operating. And so I need to go there, bring attention, because when you turn on the news today, it's all COVID, 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 Trump, 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 whatever it might be. And people aren't seeing the suffering and the tragedy. So I kind of go to these places, Nikki, jump up and down, say, hey, don't forget about these people here. They need your help. They need this. They need that. And if we get them that, because I know young people, when they hear about tragedy, they respond. They respond. The young people have got the heart of gold. And it's that young generation I'm hopeful that we can solve a lot of these problems around the world, especially man-made conflict.
Well, fingers crossed. And obviously moving to Dusan now, he's experienced, obviously, living through conflict as well. So let's chat to you about some of your exit activism, Dusan, because, you know, not everybody may know that the festival did start as a student protest against the Milosevic regime. And obviously, this is probably why supporting social issues and campaigns is so important to you. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, exit is, thank you, Nikki, and thank you, David, for participating in this panel and having the opportunity to support the amazing work that we just heard that World Food Program do throughout the year. It's really profound and glorious, the work that you do. So basically, Exit is one of the few major festivals that actually started as a social activism movement, as a peace and freedom in Serbia in Balkans 20 years ago. And since that, the social mission is equally important to us as the music festival itself. In the last 2 decades, we realized thousands of different projects and activities, and helping the people mostly in Serbia and the region of Balkans, promoting peace and tolerance, and having in mind that, as you said, one of the biggest conflicts after the Second World War in Europe was actually in this territory, and we work very hard with new generations to promote understanding between the nations that were in war just 20 years ago, so that bloody cycles that happen in Balkans every 50 years of wars, to stop that, and for us to be the generation that will live in peace in this area. So, as I said, Exit Festival, the social activism is very important to us, and it's at the forefront of what we do. And having in mind that we deeply believe that climate change and the environmental crisis is the one of the biggest or probably the biggest problem of our generation, is many things that if we continue with the path that we are going, that in just few decades our planet can become uninhabitable. So this is an extremely serious issue that we must focus on, and to be the generation that will start resolving this crisis, having in mind that it will need decades or even a century to really resolve all of the aspects that we as humans created on the planet and the life on it. Having in mind that this year, as we just heard, due to pandemic, the hunger crisis increased so much, and that, and also having in mind that you probably heard about it a little bit later, that World Food Program is also extremely active in the part of the climate change, which people don't know much. We wanted to use our media space and what we do to draw public attention to the work of the World Food Program and issues that they are raising, that we just heard. And we basically expanded our Livestream project to include also the messages about the hunger crisis alongside with the climate crisis as well. And as we said, they go, they are deeply connected. As we heard, that also wars contribute deeply to the hunger crisis. One of the slogans that we promote is when we built a monument together with the US artist Yoko Ono a few years ago, was peace on earth, peace with earth. And we believe that is something that we as humanity needs. If we can get there at some point, we will definitely live in a much better world.
Perfect, thank you. And we were speaking a bit before about how festivals have become a great place to get these kind of messages across to young people. And Exit is one of the festivals who's had an NGO zone at their festival for many years, supporting many different issues and raising awareness. So Dusan, what do you think about the role of festivals and the creative sector should play in kind of raising awareness of this? Why do you think festivals are so important in doing that?
Not just festivals, but the music industry in general. Basically, sports and music draw the most of, if we put politics aside, sports and music draws most of the people attention. And we are in music, and if we can turn music to be more responsible and to be more directed toward using its media space, to send these important messages, especially to new generations that can be that are actually more interested. That is very interesting. New generations are more interested in social topics all around the world, in social topics than generations before. So if we can promote to all festivals, to the all artists, to general, to whole industry, to be connected and to raise their voice and to use their space in the media to raise attention about these important issues, then these issues will be much faster resolved than without it. And Exit is trying to make an example for all of the festivals, and with our project Livestream, that is also open to all other festivals as well, we want to basically use the media space that streams from the broadcasts of the artists playing at festivals to put the messages about important issues, such as environmental crisis, such as hunger crisis. And that is actually what we will be doing this month in regards to the Livestream Project.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Dusan. Okay, so back to you then, David. So you touched a little bit on the climate and how it affects your kind of before, and obviously climate change is such a big thing in the news now. So how does that directly impact the most vulnerable, and what does the World Food Programme do to build resilience in those communities? And how important is afforestation? How does that impact the hunger situation as well?
Oh, Nikki, big time. And like I was saying earlier, you can fight over what causes the climate to change, but you cannot deny at all that the climate is impacted. And you know who it impacts the most? Poor people. And they do hardly nothing negative to the environment, and they're paying the price for it. And it's heartbreaking. And so at the World Food Programme, we know that. So we can't wait till there's a solution on the climate change, because people will die and starve to death. So we're out there literally, while war and conflicts driving most hunger today, but millions upon dozens of millions of people are on the brink of starvation, going to bed chronically hunger today, tonight, all over the world because of climate change, climate shocks, floods, droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes, the list goes on. And I've got some amazing stories, and it really is, because the beneficiaries, you know, and people say, oh, you know, there's the poor people and they want to get help, they don't want to work. I'm like, I hadn't met any of those, and we feed 100 million people, and I have not yet met a beneficiary that wanted outside help. They want to be free, self-sufficient, sustainable, resilient. And I just tell you a story about a woman. This was in Niger. And Niger is, I mean, you got the Sahara moving down like a kilometer per year. It's just desolate all over the place. No rain, very little rain. When it does, it's flash flooding. And so we worked with the families and started doing what we call a half moon project. And it's real simple, but you have to go online and kind of look at it. It's kind of hard to explain it, but it's like 20 feet in diameter, a half of a moon, a trench, but it catches that little bit of water. Well, anyway, this woman was standing at the top of the hill with me, and she said, Mr. Beasley, and I was getting translated now. She didn't speak English, but she said, Mr. Beasley, he said, before we were dependent on the World Food Programme and outside support, but you came in here and worked with us how to rehabilitate the land so we can capture that little bit of water that we do get and survive. She says, not only now am I feeding my family, I'm now feeding my village, and now I'm buying more land to sell to the marketplace. And she was so proud. It was just so moving. That's the stories that we have around the world, because we, like, for example, I can tell you a story in Afghanistan. We used to bring the food in and give it out. Well, you're going to be doing that forever if you don't rehabilitate the land and work with the people. So what we did, we took the same amount of money that we would buy the food and bring it to Afghanistan. And this is a typical example. And so the one area near Mazar-e-Sharif, which has flash flooding and droughts coming down from the mountains. And so you'd have a good crop, but the flash floods would come down and wipe out the crops, or you'd have a drought. And so on the other side of the country, they have the capacity, with a little bit of help, to grow the crops that they need, that we're buying from other countries and shipping in. So we went and met with the local farmers, the local millers, said, we will buy this quantity from you, this quality. And they knew that, so they went and bought trucks, bought tractors, hired people, did the milling. Then we took that same amount of food, took it over to the Mazar Sharif area. We worked with the farmers and the village leaders there and said, let's rehabilitate the landscape so that when the flash floods come, it gets diverted into holding ponds. And then when you have the droughts, the holding ponds, we got the irrigation system going down to the valley. And I sat there with a leader and I said, tell me the difference now. He says, oh, our children were leaving. They were moving out of the country. They were joining anti-government rebel forces or whatever the case may be. And now they bring their friends over and say, look at what's happening here. And so our beneficiaries are literally have rehabilitated over 500,000 acres of land, the size of Singapore. We've planted over the years about 6 billion, not million, billion trees, reforestation. We are doing feeder roads, canals, watering system, hot water harvesting programs, and the list goes on, because people have to survive. So we come in and are very practical, because you got to deal with what you have on the ground wherever you are. And so the people, they won't help. They just but they don't want help that makes you dependent on you. They want to help us become self-sufficient. And so when we go into places, let me say like in the Sahel, if we're not there with these types of programs, if we come in with a rehabilitation program, a food for asset program, and then put a school meals program, amazing what happens. Migration drops off the chart. Teen pregnancy of 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds drops off the chart. I mean, literally recruitment by ISIS or Al-Qaeda or terrorist organization drops off the chart. I've had more mothers tell me, my husband didn't want to join that terrorist group, but our little girl hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. What were we supposed to do? It's not like they can, just drive from Paris to London or another city. They have nowhere to go. So when the support of the people that's listening tonight, when they hear this and respond, we're able to really help stabilize people. So climate change is real. What we're doing is responding to it, and we need more help out there, because I know the poor people that are suffering from it, they paid the price for it. But if we can come in and help them and stabilize with all the different techniques and things that we can do, and I'm not even getting into hydroponics and all the different kind of things that we do. There's so many things that we do now with satellite imagery and technology is quite remarkable. But anyway, that's probably enough for right now, Nikki. Let me throw it back to you so we'll go from here.
Honestly, this is so inspiring listening to you say a lot of these things, David, because when you hear the World Food Programme, like you say, not everybody understands what it is. And listening to you now talking about all the different programs to educate the people so they can farm their own land and the rehabilitation so they can feed themselves, and how it then affects on kind of pregnancy, recruitment to ISIS and terrorist organisations. You just don't think of all these kind of impacts and knock-on effects, hunger, all these things could have. And it's really interesting and amazing all at once, Nikki,
you remember the Syrian war, and it's still going. In Syria, because a lot of people say, oh, these immigrants are coming here, they're leaving places, and they didn't want to be there anyway. That's not true. People don't want to leave home. But if they don't have food security, and what we found, when you feed 100 million people, we do a lot of surveys. We talk to people all the time. And so for every 1% increase in hunger, there's a 2% increase in migration. And before, like in Syria, before a Syrian would leave Syria, they would move 2, 3, 4, 5 times inside their country, go to an aunt's, go to an uncle's, go to a grandparent's, because they didn't want to leave their home. And listen to this. We can feed a Syrian in Syria in a war zone for about 50 cents. That same Syrian ends up in Berlin or Brussels. The humanitarian cost per day is 50 to 100 euros per day. And the Syrian refugee doesn't want to be there. They want to be home. It's a lot cheaper to deal with root causes and address it at home, because that's where people want to be, and it's just a better way to do it.
No, that's just so insightful and interesting. I could listen to you speak about this all day, David. It's just really, really interesting, the impact and the changes you've been able to make so far. So let's go over to Dusan then. Tell us more about the Livestream Project. Obviously, you launched it at ADE last year, but tell us what you hope to achieve with it, where it's going, and what you're going to do this year.
Thank you, Nikki. So, as I said previously, Livestream was launched in order to use the media attention that streams of our superstars are creating to put environmental messages into it and to warn about the looming environmental crisis. And when we were speaking, and we realized that World Food Program is very active, as we just heard, on the climate issues as well, and that this is not known enough, and that people should know more about it. We started speaking together, and when we realized how serious the hunger crisis is, especially this year due to pandemic, we decided to expand the scope of the live stream and to include the hunger crisis. So from tonight at our home, our magnificent Petrovaradin fortress, here in Novi Sad, Serbia, where Exit Festival is held every year, we will have some of the global electronic superstars that will be playing live or some virtual, such as Carl Cox, Charlotte DeWitt, Adam Beyer, Nina Kravis, Black Coffee, and many other. And they will play from one of the biggest and most known electronic stages in the world, our beloved Dance Arena. And this will go on for 4 days, and we will be filming all of these shows. And from the 17th to 20th September and the weekend after, we will play these shows that will be have these messages implemented. Each of the days will be dedicated to different life elements, so nature elements, so earth, water, fire, and air. And all of these messages will be connected with the environment and with the activity of World Food Program as well. So we are developing this platform as an open source platform. So in order to other festivals and other events can easily use it and also use their media attention, their streams, in order to promote similar issues and as well. Next year, Exit is the 20th anniversary, so due to pandemic, we moved Exit to in full capacity in 21. This weekend, we will have only 500 people attending in the area that usually have 25,000 people at Dance Arena. Next year, we will be in the full capacity with some also of the biggest superstars coming as David Guetta, Tyga, DJ Snake, and others. And we believe that what we are starting now will have its peak next year in July for Exit 20th anniversary. And I don't want to speak too much. As I said, what we want is to give attention to the activities of World Food Program. So I think we heard some amazing insights about the work of the organization and how important it is. And what I would like to, if I can jump also and ask some question, is to how ordinary people can support World Food Program. We will have, during the live stream, we will have the opportunity for people to donate directly to WFP, but I would also like to know I think there is an app, and maybe we can learn some more for how each individual can support. Of course, countries all over the world support through directly, but also I think the individuals can help a lot as well.
Yeah, basically that was kind of probably the last question for both of you, actually. But I was going to quickly ask you, Dusan, I know you didn't want to talk about what you were doing so much, but quickly tell us how easy was it to get some of the big name DJs to support? You know, how are the artists feeling about supporting such a great cause?
To be honest, we had an overwhelming. They were really acceptable to the cause, and they understood the crisis. I will give the example of probably the biggest electronic act there is, Carl Cox. When he heard the cause, he was actually the first to agree, because some of you know that exit was planned to happen in August. Then the second wave of the epidemic hit Serbia, and we had to cancel that edition as well and to move to 21. And then we decided to have just online edition, and we were emailing different artists, and Carl Cox was the first to agree, and this was the great boost in confidence that this will go very, very successful. And one interesting remark is that for the most festivals, he did a 60-minute stream, and for Exit Festival and for this occasion, he did a two-hour stream that we will be watching tonight.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, it's probably good for David to know, though, that lots of artists are so interested in supporting great causes and charities, you know, for the future. So that's good to know. So really looking forward to some of those streams. So on to our kind of last question for you both. Dusan touched on it a bit there. So David, can you tell us, you know, how can young people kind of get involved and support the World Program? Obviously, they can watch the stream and donate, but what else can they do on the ground? Can they volunteer, or, you know?
Yeah, Nikki, there's so many things. And first, you know, go download the Share the Meal app. You can go to the App Store or sharethemill.org and download it. So that's really cool, because you'll see, wow, I can help that child in Lebanon. I can help that child in Yemen. And you can imagine if 1 billion young people around the world said, hey, I'll give $1 a month. We'll solve hunger in places all around the world. That easy. So start there. If you want to help in Lebanon, go to wfp.org/Lebanon. Number 3, raise your voice, speak out. Governments, you know, and I go to a lot of the governments because that's where we raise most of our money. And so I speak to the left and the right, the conservatives and liberals, and it's amazing how they'll come together on food aid. But with all the tragedies around the world, raise your voice, speak out, tell the folks, yes, we want to help hunger, people starving around the world. And look around your neighborhood. You might be surprised somebody within a mile or two of you is going hungry. And so don't underestimate that hunger is not just in poor countries. It can be in a wealthy country as well. And so reach out, stay up to date, go to our website, stay involved. You know, when you think about the fact that every 3.6 to 5 seconds a person's dying from hunger or a hunger-related issue, do the math. Go multiply that out. It's astounding how many people, thousands of people are dying today, per day, from hunger. Every day, before COVID, and now it's compounded because of COVID. And so be smart, be wise, wear your mask, distance yourself, do those things. But while you're doing that, reach out to the poor, those that are hungry. You'll be amazed how much help you can, in fact, do. And you'll find out your heart gets moved, I think, more than the people you're helping. So thank you, Nikki. And Dusan, thank you, Dusan, for what you're doing and bringing this attention, because I don't think people realize how bad it is out there, and I don't think they realize how easy it is to really help. So thank you very, very much.
Oh, it's our pleasure. You know, it's lovely to hear those things. And you're so right about that. It can be on your doorstep too. Here in the UK, we always see on the news about how food banks being used so much more by families now, which is so sad when it's on your doorstep. And I think it was, I'm not the biggest football fan, but I think it was Marcus Rashford, one of the footballers in the UK. He started a campaign to extend free school meals for children during the pandemic when they're at home, because so many children rely on those free school meals. So, you know, charity starts at home, as well as obviously the awful things that are happening abroad in all these other countries too. So just quickly as well, can I say which are the countries that are most affected by the climate change hunger? Because you talked about some of the war-torn ones, but which ones are the most affected by the climate change issues?
Well, it's a number of countries, dozens of countries around the world. And you got the cyclones now hitting more. You got hurricanes hitting North America, Central America, South America, you know, West and Eastern Africa, and then the list goes on in Asia. But then outside of the cyclones and hurricanes, then you get in the droughts and the flash flooding, like in the Sahel region or parts of Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, Yemen. I could keep just going from country to country. It's all over the world. Central America right now is having an extraordinary number of flash floods and droughts. You can have a flash flood literally just 100 miles away, and a drought another 100 miles away. And so these are issues we can't ignore. We've got to respond to them and respond quickly, because people, you know, you can't go a couple of weeks without food. You'll die. So we have to be there. And that's one of the good things about the World Food Program. If you have a natural disaster of significance, we can go in and start feeding about 1 million people literally in a couple of weeks. We can scale up so fast. We know how to do it. We've done it in Mozambique, Cox's Bazar. I mean, talk about a tragedy. Oh, that's so heartbreaking. All 1 million people just stuck in this erosion area, and we've been actually working with them to plant trees, reforest, try to protect the environment, feeding them at the same time. But anyway, I could probably go on for another hour on which countries, but I better stop right there.
That's good. It's all good. We love listening to you. So Dusan, last question to you as well, about getting young people involved and supporting these campaigns, because Exit have been involved in many where you've kind of galvanized the support of young people to get involved in lots of your campaigns. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of those and how you go about doing that, and how you hope to be able to do the same with Livestream.
Yeah, so basically what David said, if we could have the organization of maybe not billion, but 100 million of people donating, for instance, in first panel, Conscious Revolution panel, we had one of the biggest motivation speakers and humanitarian workers, Nikki, whose dream is actually to have 100 million people supporting these issues with $1 per day. And it's similar what David said. And what we will try to motivate young people through the live stream is that each of them can make a difference. Because when people watch these horrible informations and how serious the hunger crisis or environmental crisis is, they think, oh, this is too big. I can't make a difference. Me individually, I'm too weak to make a real change. And this is not true. We will motivate them that even by watching the live stream, they are already making a difference. If they can share the live stream, they will make more difference. If they can donate to World Food Program, they will make even more difference. And for those who can also volunteer or get active in their community, or some of them would like to travel to these places and also help there, that's even better. So each of us can make a difference every day, with some simple things as keeping the water and other things that are known about how to protect our environment. And that is one of the main messages that we will send through live stream. Yes, we can make a difference, and if we all unite, then we can make a lot of difference and really save our planet and life on it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Sometimes you're right, people do think it's too big. What can I do? So hopefully it will help start the conversation, make people think about things. And also, Dusan, you should mention your afforestation project you did previously this year.
Yeah, we started the Green Revolution project with planting 11,000 trees on the Fruška mountain next to Novi Sad, and we initiated that the Serbian government decided to increase the forestation of the country by almost 50%. That's around 1 billion trees. So we still need 5 billion to go to get to the World Food Program numbers. But if we all work together, I think we can reach much more. Forestation is really a good goal because even, as David said, some people are, they're not certain about climate change, but nobody can be against planting a tree. So planting a tree for everybody is a good thing. So forestation is one of the good goals to have.
Dusan, this is unbelievable. Here in Ethiopia, I was just meeting with the Prime Minister, Abiy, and he has literally inspired people all over the country. They have planted literally 6-7 billion trees in the last 2 years. Unbelievable. And so he told me last night, we were having dinner, he said, I want to plant 4 or 5 more billion next year, but I want to grow an extra billion of seedlings, and I want the World Food Program to ship them to countries around so we can help them reforest as well. And I'm like, wow, this is great. So whether you're planting 1 tree or 1 billion, if we have 1 billion young people planting 1 tree, that's 1 billion trees. So let's do it.
So it just shows you what difference we can make.
And that's amazing news to have, prime ministers like that are really committed to support the cause. It's really good.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Amazing. God, we could just talk all day, couldn't we, about all the amazing achievements and what we hope to achieve. So I guess we probably should wrap this up about now. It's been such an insightful conversation. I've loved hearing from you, David, and some of the things you've been doing. I think, I can speak for Dusan as well. It's so amazing to be involved in this project and to work with you and hopefully make a difference. So I really hope we can. So I think we're going to end. We've got a lovely video from the World Food Programme, which can highlight some of the things that you've all been doing. So thank you, David. Thank you, Dusan. And I hope to see you at Exit next year.
Yes.
Thank you.